because what's happening right now is not okay. There's too many people being harmed by government, too many lives being destroyed.
The majority of politicians don't care.
Nobody on the left has been willing to stand up to what is obvious fascism and tyranny.
I'm trying to barrel through. It's like eons of information.
You guys agree on 95% of the same shit. You're just arguing on how to achieve it. So that does piss me off.
I was having a fit and like the breakdown. I'm like, God damn it, why the couldn't we have run Gary Johnson 2012 in 2016?
Yelling, whatever, get government out isn't good enough. And if you can answer the but what about, they are blown away.
I think one of the best ways to start community, like if you don't know how or you're not really sure how to approach it in your area, is to find something that people can rally behind.
It is imperative. We are the only ones with the right idea on this. We have to be the ones out there, not just on this, on everything.
My good friend, the host of FritzCast, and all-around badass, it is Mr. Fritz. Sir, how are you doing tonight?
If you casually get into the liberty movement, Larry Sharp is right. You either become more libertarian or you leave. What's up, guys? It is Saturday, October 9th, 2021, and you have just made yourself through the brand new intro to FritzCast that I worked painstakingly on last night when I could have been recording the podcast. I could have done it last night, but I worked on that video intro. I wanted to really retool and revamp some things because, like I said in last week's episode, I feel like I need to do a bit more retooling and redirectional approaches, kind of changing the philosophy of FritzCast and its point and purpose, and getting back to the true roots of why I started this show and this podcast, and that can be it can be a challenging thing sometimes, but it's something that I enjoy doing. I enjoy the challenge of that, and I enjoy trying to keep this fresh and exciting and exhilarating, and bringing in great guests that we can talk to, but we can go over topics with as well that are probably better suited and better versed than I am at it. But I thought that was a great package to put together that highlighted some of the great guests that we've had on the show in the past, and I think leads to some promising things in our future. So take a look at that. I've posted it on the Twitter. It's gonna on the Twitter. It's gonna be posted on the Facebook as well, and we're gonna move forward with that as the new show intro, the new show theme song. So yes, we're stepping away from "Let It Out" by Jerrytown, which it was kind of a decision that I wrestled with heavily before pulling that trigger, because I really enjoy Jerrytown. I really enjoy that song, Let It Out. But it has been my theme song for some 3 years or better now. And it's always a copyright strike on my YouTube content, despite the fact that I had permission from Dustin Christensen, the lead of Jerrytown. He gave me permission to use it, but the copyright falls under CD Baby, and that makes it so that I can't remove the copyright strike in this sucky world. So I did find a music source that won't generate that copyright strike. It is a royalty-free, fair use thing. And the fact that it's just instrumental too meant that I could incorporate the quotes and stuff. I've always wanted to do intros with the quotes incorporated. Some of you might recall from a while back, it's been a long time since I've done one of those intros, but I had I had music from Hero Board from YouTube that was also Creative Commons, fair to use licensing on it. That was literally instrumental, inspirational music, but I always changed it with different quotes from whatever I felt was significant at the time I was using it. I just think it gives a little more in-depth and more flair to it rather than just being a lyrical video or just lyrical content in the background. I think this gives us a nice new approach, and we're willing to rock out with it for a while, see what's up. I really, not to toot my own horn, I think I did a good job with it, and I'm excited to see what you guys think about it. Really, so drop your comments and reach out to me and let me know what's up and what you think about that. That being said, this show is entitled Dirty Deeds, and I wasn't sure how I was going to approach this. So I do have some clips that I'm going to play in this show, but not in the typical clip format that I would. I am having some issues with my computer with with some of the updates that came along with my iMac. I know some people are out there. Oh, there's your problem. It's an Apple thing. Yeah, I use Apple products. You can't see it, but this is an iPhone. I use Apple products. Ooh, bad guy. Or ooh, the highbrow, pinky up, SpongeBob. I use Apple products. I've been using OBS to record the program when I'm not with guests. With guests, I usually link up on Zoom. Zoom records all of that, and I can just take that and throw it on. I am looking at possibly changing that up because a lot of the people that I coordinate with, or I guess you could call them colleagues, friends, whatever, they're using things like StreamYard, which is more dynamic and more, flared up and more, juiced up than just me taking a Zoom call and dragging it in iMovie and splicing my intro theme with it and all that crap. So it's something I'm looking at possibly changing, especially because Zoom I don't think it 100% gets the audio quality that this microphone does, but that's beside the point. I am looking at possibly tweaking those things, but in some of the updates that came, something happened with the audio drives and stuff I had downloaded to work with OBS to to really capture audio out of clips that I was playing. And I know it's not a complex fix per se, but I don't get the opportunity to sit in front of my computer a lot and just play around with drivers and with settings and things like that. So I'm gonna try tweaking a little bit, seeing if I can get it fixed. That's why a week or so ago, my clip with Calvin Coolidge glitched out and didn't have the audio, or the audio is really barely hearable because of this monstrosity that went away. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. And so I'm looking at my desktop audio thing right now, and I can play something in the background on my desktop. I'll be able to hear it in my headphones. The program won't hear it at all. And I'm just putting that to the test by pushing play. Nope. No. Can't hear it at all. You might have heard it from my headphones being picked up by the speaker, but it's not the way I want it. So when it comes to the clips that I'm going to play, I'll explain a little bit right now. The clips that I'm going to play are from Dan Smotz, The System is Down podcast. Dan Smotz had 2 great episodes last week that I implore you to watch both of. That way I'm not being, unobjectable. That way I'm doing my due diligence. He did an episode where he interviewed the quote-unquote former chair of the Libertarian Party of Delaware, Bill Hines, the former vice chair, Amy Lepore, and the former chair of Newcastle County, Dave Casey, who you might know as Dave versus Goliath, the podcast program that can be seen on YouTube and a plethora of other places. So he did an episode with them. He did a follow-up episode with quote-unquote present chair Will McVeigh. not Jimmy Birmingham, Joe DePasquale. I don't know what Joe was doing there other than trying to be a fall guy. But he did a follow-up episode to get Will and Joe's side of the story. And that, with those details in mind, if you don't know what I'm talking about, which you don't because I didn't think this through well enough, is that we've had some controversy in Delaware recently with the Libertarian Party of Delaware. And to accurately give you that picture, I got to read some of the press releases that were released over these issues. So I'm going to do something that I don't often do. I'm going to pause for a moment. All right. So I'm going to read you these press releases. That way I can, again, due diligence. Not trying to be biased here. Not trying to be an asshole like Dave Casey and Will McVeigh are, which they both self-admittedly are, so that's not me being biased either. So we had a state board turnover in which Bill Hines, Amy Lepore, and Dave Casey were removed from the state board. And let me just pull it up. So this is the notice. You might not be able to read that unless you have it up on a television or something. I am going to read it. I'm going to read it for you, though, and we can go from there. So after this state board turnover happened, this was released, which this was clearly already drafted and ready to go prior to this. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this. In one of the clips that I'm going to play from Dan Smotz's interview with Will McVeigh, Will smirks and states that we were calling this the plot. So he already knew he had nefarious intent with this, and he bluntly admits it in that episode. But regardless, here we go. At an online meeting of the LPD State Board, a change was adopted to our bylaws regarding disciplinary policy to enable 2/3 of our county chairs to remove a member of the state board rather than the previous 4/5 requirement among all state board members. Board members judged that a body is poorly suited to police itself without an outside source of accountability, and that the 4/5 requirement was too difficult to surmount when dealing with multiple board members who were, quote, disruptive, disrespectful, incompetent, dishonest, or otherwise compromising to the mission of the LPD, Libertarian Party of Delaware. Now, before I go on, you might read that as 2/3 of our county chairs to remove a member. It's not 2/3 of our county chairs. I mean, technically it is. There's only 3 counties in Delaware, so there's only 3 county chairs. So if you're thinking, 2/3 is all right, that's a good, no. It's 2 out of 3 people. One of which they, removed. But that's beside. Pursuant to the new process, State Chair Bill Hines, Vice Chair Amy Lepore, and Newcastle County State Board Representative Dave Casey were removed from the state board. State Chair Bill Hines was elected in an uncontested campaign based on false pretenses. He failed to disclose factional allegiances, a.k.a. the Mises Caucus, by the way. So anybody out there who's like, oh, this is all Mises Caucus, he was Mises Caucus, ended up joining Mises Caucus. Furthermore, in his brief tenure as chair, he has demonstrated a tendency towards making unilateral decisions without consulting the board, failure to understand his role and responsibilities to the party and to the board, and has comported himself on social media in a way that portrayed the LPD in a negative light. he has held his factional interests higher than those of the LPD to our detriment. This also goes on to say that, Vice Chair Amy Lepore failed to openly disclose her factional allegiances, which I contest is wholeheartedly crap, because I think everybody knew she was the Mises Caucus state coordinator. But regardless, quote, but she remains the state coordinator for one such organization, Mises Caucus, despite assurances that she would resign that position upon being elected vice chair, which is I believe, some cockamamie. I think that's a bald-faced lie. I don't think that was ever a promise that she had made or declared publicly. Could be wrong, but I don't believe so. And then Dave Casey basically was just, if you go on and read this, Dave Casey was an asshole, which, to nobody's surprise, Dave Casey is a self-admitted asshole. The people that elected Dave Casey knew he was an asshole. Everybody knows, even Will admits this in the interview with Dan, that it was known Dave Casey's an asshole. He was elected as an asshole. Things got personal between him and Will. Look, Will can even state that he's an asshole. I, being fairly new to this business of the LP Delaware stuff, and just starting to get involved, I didn't want to take any hard line stances against any people, because there was a lot of animosity towards Will from people who I consider my friends, and vice versa. Will seems to have a lot of animosity towards some of my friends, and in particular, as he'll always state, in particular to Dave Casey. It's not the Mises Caucus people per se, even though everybody that they removed is Mises Caucus. Mises Caucus is consistently brought up by the old guard of the party and whatnot. But, notwithstanding, I'm not in here to name call. Will, as far as he is as a person, I've been to several meetings, and he is the chair of my county, and I've had non-negative interactions with him as a person. Do I think that there's some questionable things that he does as a chair, some of his views? Yeah, I do believe that. After this and after hearing the interview, I mean, there's a lot to have problems with. But notwithstanding, when it comes to Will as a person, I'm not going to attack him as a person. I'm not going to attack his family, such as his mother, who is the secretary of the party, and I'm not going to attack his kids. I'm not going to do that. I don't see that as this isn't an opportunity for me to be a piece of shit and call him out as a person or as a father. But I can say that some of the things that he's admitted to doing in the clips that you'll see, and I implore you to watch both full interviews and draw your own conclusions. But after I watched that interview that he and Joe DiPasquale did, and the things that he bluntly admitted, and the fact that he said he's not happy with himself for doing it, and he thinks that everything that he used is dirty and should be closed out through bylaws, I don't understand why you're handing out your hand of friendship towards me to work with you. I wouldn't want to work with you. I really wouldn't, because you bluntly admitted that you did things underhandedly. You engaged in this chicanery, if you will, and with very, very weak arguments in my mind. Very weak arguments about how the state board was being held up. It was a 5-5 board, practically. It was like an even split board, so I don't really think you can say these 5 weren't helping out us, and because vice versa, you 5 weren't helping out them. Is that gridlock and nothing's getting done? Yes, I agree with Dan Smotz in his podcast when he brought it up. He said that's politics. It's redundant. It's redundant, and there's lots of fighting, and it pops up. But the offenses that Bill Hines was removed for, there were no offenses. They're not removable things. They just did this because they wanted to. That's the way that I see it. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel that way. And furthermore, I wouldn't feel this way if it wasn't Will in the hot seat, because a lot of it just seems like this was your opportunity to get the power that I don't believe that you could acquire on your own, especially with the latest additions into the party. You wouldn't have got it. And now I think you just got your 5 minutes of fame. And I don't think it's going to work out so hot for you in the end. But that being said, that's what we're dealing with now. Bill, Amy, Dave, they put out their own press release stating that they don't recognize the actions because they were nefariously carried out. And I mean, there's some things in this press release that I don't necessarily agree with per se. But on October 1st, several members of the LPD State Board attempted to orchestrate a purge of duly elected board members. That much did happen. They did have this bylaw change. They buried it in a mean dump. Will turned off comments on Facebook. He coordinated with somebody to turn off comments on Facebook. This is, that much is fact, and he's admitted to it. So there's not much more for me to go on there. It was done legally, quote unquote. It's the ethical question, which Will himself has admitted it wasn't very ethical. So at the end of the day, how can I support you, dude? How can I really get behind you when that's greasy and dirty and you've sunk your hands in the filth? You're no better than the government. How? Argue, give me your argument on how, because for a decade prior, you've been in this party. This party hasn't done much, and it hasn't had many people, but now all of a sudden it's getting a lot of people, and you're saying that now it's being hindered from growing and truly doing what it's going to do. I don't understand that in the least. But like I said, some of what's in here, some of what's in this one I don't necessarily agree with. I think it's in this one. Yeah, mind you, in the second paragraph, the bottom line, it says all of this was done in a 5-minute span from 8:01 to 8:06 p.m. That's how long it took to oust 3 individuals thanks to a bylaw change that was missed because of nefarious practices, in which they were stating that 4/5 was being scrapped so that 2 out of 3 county chairs who were colluding together on this, by the way, could remove the 3 individuals in question. Take that for what you will. I thought it said something in here about... Will's use of... Maybe it doesn't. Okay. So you can read those. Those are on my Facebook, and I'll link them to the description of this episode. I thought it said something in there, and this has been brought up against Will, and I've brought it up against Will as an argument that he had this whole Mandalorian's Party of Delaware thing that he worked on. He created this whole secondary political party in Delaware. He was registered as a member of that party after he created it. This is while he's chair of my county. And he states that he did this, and apparently he has a long history of creating political parties in the state of Delaware. He talks about it on Dan Smotz on the podcast episode, which clips I'm going to play for you at the end of this. And then I implore you to go watch the episodes. He has a long history of creating these political parties to, quote unquote, point out the flaws and the abuses in Delaware's campaign finance system. And so he makes these joke parties. However, to me, it's always been this. If you have the effort and the time to sit here and make fake political parties to try to, quote unquote, make a statement about the system in place, I don't think you're fulfilling your duties for the Libertarian Party of Delaware. I think you're just being a troll, and it's goofy and kind of dumb. I mean, I get that you haven't made these political parties with all sincerity and seriousness, but I think it's a waste of your time and effort to do so. Especially if you are a chair of a party, of a county, in which I've heard him frequently state that it is an irrelevant county party as a defense against his kids and his girlfriend's kids voting in it. Now, again, I'm not getting into the kids thing. When I was a nerdy 12-year-old kid, I never went to a political party thing. I'm not saying that it's not impossible. But beside the point. But that's where we stand in Delaware with this situation. We have board members that have been outed, not by the body at large, but by 2 out of 3 county chairs. So 2 county chairs have unilaterally removed 3 members and placed Will in the hot chair in a move that he himself has stated he's not proud of. I don't know. I don't know how we can be sitting where we're sitting and move forward because now, mind you, Caryn Ann Harlos, Todd Hagopian, Spike Cohen, several other people on Twitter and on social media have chimed in, looking over what has been presented and have said, this is wrong. There's no way that this is legitimate. This isn't good. This was not a good use of your resources. This was not a good use of your time. It looks very, very bad for you, and you've probably done detrimental things for your state party, which I believe it is the case. But my options are, what? Number one, to leave, to say, wow, this is a big joke. You guys shouldn't be taken seriously, and I'm going to leave. Letting you keep it and letting what has happened and what has transpired basically giving you a pass. Or I can stay, I can continue to work, I continue to want a new sense of unity and continue to fight against those things that I thought were bad. And that is my intention. I don't intend to go anywhere. I don't intend to disappear, and I don't intend to just lay down and let these events happen without recourse. What that recourse is, what it looks like, and what I do moving forward as the dust settles and as some wrongs might be corrected, depending on what happens. Who knows? Can't say for sure. But I want to play these clips for you, and then I implore you to check out the links and the interviews yourselves and look at the evidence present and look at how the people present themselves, and you decide for yourself whether you think what happened was inspired in part by trying to purge Mises Caucus, whether you think it was legitimate concerns, whether you think it was done legitimately. Let's take a look at the clips.
Leading up to, the whatever we're calling it, insurrection, takeover, coup. There's all sorts of words being thrown around. But what?
It is the plot.
What's that?
We've referred to it as the plot.
The plot, okay. The conspiracy.
This wasn't anything having to do with eliminating the Mises Caucus from the state party whatsoever. That's a fabricated thought meant to discredit what the problem actually was. As a new member of the state board, as somebody who wanted to join the party and help and get things done and help pass amendments and bylaws, and as somebody new, not really fully understanding everything and trying to learn more about it as we go as well, the butting heads was really mostly about one person, and that was Dave. Every time we had a state board meeting, and I mean, he said it on your show the other day, so it's not like I'm calling him out here.
Sure,
He's an asshole. So
I absolutely agree with you.
And that's fine. People, there's places in the world for people like that. Mm-hmm. But this whole thing was never about removing the Mises Caucus. This actually came about initially as it was actually my idea. I wasn't the vehicle for it. Obviously, that was Will, but about getting Dave off the state board.
Mm-hmm. That was. What did he say? What was the terrible things that he did exactly?
I mean, I can think of some examples from Twitter in particular. I know I've been called a cancer on the party. I've been called a piece of shit on his podcast. He made some sexual innuendos about my 67-year-old mother, who is the treasurer of the party, as he mentioned. And I feel like we're dwelling a little too much on this because at the end of the day, the issue here isn't mean words. The issue isn't mud decorum. I mean, I'm an asshole too. I'm perfectly willing to admit that. Really what it comes down to is being an asshole in such a way that you try to avoid accountability for it. Like Joe said in his comment there and just repeated now, he's blocking all of these people in the party, but he's doing it from his position as a moderator for the group. So he can still interact with their content, but they can't respond to him. Okay. See what I mean? Like it's, again, if you want to be a dick, fine, be a dick. I'm not going to judge you on that. This isn't about mean words. But if you're going to be a dick, you're not going to do it on somebody else's post that you've blocked them from responding to you on.
Yeah. Okay. I don't it's a lot to wrap my brain around, and I barely care. But so some people are dicks, and some people were dicks, and we're all dicks. So he said some dickish things. You guys have obviously said some dickish things. Whether or not either of them were justified doesn't really matter. But one of you guys decided that he was so dickish that he needed to be removed and take out the chair and vice chair with him, or what exactly is the next step in that?
As I said, links to both are below. Check them out. Check out Caryn Ann Harlos' take, too. I'm linking both of her takes in below as well for you to view and look at. But I do have to state this, too. With all the other things going on, coronavirus, vaccine mandates, $3.5 trillion infrastructure spending bills, and a plethora of other things. That's not even talking about what's going on just locally in Delaware as well. I think that is a colossal waste of time, what has transpired and what we have dumped, what the party and the current chair have dumped their efforts into. I think it's been a colossal waste of time because the clock is ticking. As you saw in my new intro video, the government grows stronger by the minute. We are under some very, very trying times. There's people who are facing being fired every day, who are being fired every day for simply not getting a vaccination at a time where they're trying to push everybody getting vaccinated, despite the fact that it's not mitigating the virus. So if you ask me, things like this, which seem to be based on more personal squabbles more than anything, or personal preferences more than anything, just seems to be a colossal waste of time. And it's not worthy of us wasting our time on. But that doesn't mean that I'm just going to shake your hand and work with you moving forward while what I believe that has happened is wrong continues to be upheld. I've still yet to see how this isn't about you and how this isn't an ego thing. And until you prove to me otherwise, that's how I'm going to view it. That's how I'm going to see you. If you don't like me calling you dear leader, it's my way of trolling. It's my way of trolling you, because he did say he has seen the things that I've said about him. I haven't said I don't think anything other than I do think he's an asshole. I do think everything was done as a form of self-aggrandizement, and I have called him dear leader. It's my troll. That's what happens, But that is what it is. But guys, it's going to do it for me for this week. I thank you for watching FritzCast. I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope in the coming weeks, I don't have anybody scheduled as a guest yet, but I'm hoping to be rolling in with some more guests in the coming weeks. But as far as the revamp, I hope it's going to take us in a new direction for FritzCast, new direction for Liberty, new outreach, new connections, new expansion being made. Hope we can do it that way. Remember, guys, I love you. You can follow me on Twitter at FritzQS, Facebook.com/TheFritzCast. And if you need to reach out to me, FritzCastPodcast@gmail.com. Love you, and I'll see you next week.